It's a simple concept. Your Wi-Fi coverage is this big. You got something up here with no Wi-Fi, so what do? You grab one of these, stick it up here, and bing bang boom, instant Wi-Fi, right? Well, maybe. In this video, we're going to discuss the good, the bad, and the ugly of Wi-Fi extenders. My name is Jerry Jones. I'm also known as the Wi-Fi guy. I'm an IT support technician and a home computing enthusiast. Years ago, I taught myself computers and computer networking, and both are still passions today. I'm here to help you navigate your way through the confusing, frustrating, yet extremely rewarding world of home networking. God. This is the video complement to Chapter 5 of my ebook, The Home IT Handbook, which you can download at wifi-guy.net, the site that helps you go from computer novice to home IT guru. In this video, we're going to talk about extending your Wi-Fi network using extenders. There are some pros and cons though, and these devices can be a bit quirky. So we're going to cover all that in this video. In this example, it looks like somebody has not been watching my videos, and instead of installing the Wi-Fi router in a central location of the house that would easily take up the whole space, the ISP has kind of forced them to stash it over here in a little corner somewhere, and part of the house is not getting any coverage. So the quick way to deal with this is to simply put an extender here right at the edge of the wireless router's coverage to expand the coverage so this laptop here can get some Wi-Fi. I'm always a little bit baffled at why people call these things boosters. A Wi-Fi extender does anything but boost your signal. In fact, it kind of decreases it. During a typical connection between an access point and a client, the access point isn't just throwing things at the client endlessly. A transmission is not complete until the client acknowledges to the access point that, yeah, I got that. So it's kind of like, okay, I sent you something. Did you get that? The client goes, yeah, I got that. Go ahead and send me something else. Okay, I sent you something else. You got that? Client goes, yeah, okay, send me something else. When you introduce an extender into the equation, you now have two-way conversations. The extender is actually a client for the access point and an access point for the client. So you've got all this back and forth going on between, okay, I'm sending you this. You got that? Yeah, I got that. And then this thing has to go, okay, I sent you this. Did you get that? Yeah, I got that. So in order for a single piece of data to make it all the way from the access point to the client, two-way conversations have to take place, which means the extender is having to do double duty. And that double duty causes the extender to slow down, usually by half. So there becomes a point where you have to decide, well, is half better than nothing? Or should I go all out and upgrade to some stronger wireless router or mesh Wi-Fi system? Typically, if you have just a few devices in a corner of the house somewhere, an extender will be just fine. The reason I say these things are quirky is because they can sometimes be difficult to set up. You may have heard there's more than one way to skin a cat. Luckily, with these things, there are multiple ways to set them up. So if one thing doesn't work, you can always try something else. And actually, I love cats. The most common way to set these things up, or the way manufacturers like to advertise because of the simplicity, is using WPS. WPS is a special wireless protocol that can set up a connection between devices with just the push of a button. It's great when it works, but it can be very frustrating when it doesn't. To set an extender up with WPS, you simply push on the WPS button on the extender, and then you go to your wireless router and push on the WPS button on the wireless router. The two lights should start blinking, and they should eventually connect. Once your router and the extender have set up a communication channel between each other, this router light should light up. Once that happens, you should see a new wireless connection on the device you're trying to connect. You should be able to use the same password you use to connect your wireless router. Once your device is connected, you can simply use the lights on the extender to find the sweet spot between the router and the client. So when it's red, that means you're too far from the client. When the router light is on, that means you're too far from the router. Once your router and client are connected using the extender, you're free to walk the extender to any point in the house you want to. Okay, they say that in order to set these extenders up, you want to be in close proximity to the wireless router. So here's the extender. There's my wireless router. Don't laugh at my Xbox. Okay, so right now, see if I get this thing in focus. The extender has actually already been set up. I just want you to see this in case I can't get it to work again. So you see the router light there, it's green. That means it's connected, it's synced up with the wireless router. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to reset this thing. In order to reset it, I'm going to use this little thumbtack. I'm going to stick it in that little hole there. And once it starts blinking red a couple of times, that means it's reset. So once it's reset, you can see the router light has gone off. So you want to give it a chance here for the power to turn back on. Okay, there we go. All right, so in order to sync this up with the wireless router, you simply hit this WPS button here. And the WPS light starts blinking. Next thing you want to do is you want to click on the WPS button on the router. And you can see the little light there starts blinking. Now you got both WPS lights blinking. Now, sometimes all of a sudden I just give up on this thing and all of a sudden the green light will come on. So let's see if that happens. And like magic, I gave up on it, and as soon as I gave up on it, the little light came on. So right now the extender is now synced up with the wireless router. So now let's run over to my laptop and take a look and see what's going on over there. Okay, now in my case, I have a dual band wireless router with a Wi-Fi Guide 2.4 on the 2.4 band and a Wi-Fi 5 on the 5 gigahertz band. Okay, now over here you'll see these things here with EXT. Those are the extender. What the extender has done is it's set up a 2 and a 5 network on my 2.4 gigahertz band. Let me go ahead and punch in the password to this. See if we can connect. Do 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 do. Oh yeah. Okay, so we are connected and it is a secured network. Okay, so let's go on over to the extender and see what it's doing. Okay, so let me grab my handy dandy wireless extender holder and let's take a close look at this thing. As you can see, the router light is still lit and now the device light is lit. The device is the laptop we just connected. So right now, this Wi-Fi extender is ready to go. We can take it basically anywhere we want to and connect with any device. Awesome. Now, what if the WPS method doesn't work? Well, then you can always use your web browser. It's always a good thing to know how to configure a wireless device using a web browser in case all these fancy schmancy other techniques don't work. So to connect to the web interface, you're usually going to use some kind of a website address or an IP address. You can either plug the extender directly into a computer or a switch connected to your computer, or you can connect to it with the Wi-Fi. When you first plug the extender in, if you go over to one of your wireless devices, you'll see a brand new connection on your wireless networks. Once your computer or your phone is connected to this Wi-Fi network, simply go to its website address or its IP address to pull up the web interface. Okay, in order to reconfigure the extender, we're going to have to reset it. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so once that's done, we should be able to come down here and see the little wireless network created by the extender. So let's go ahead and connect to it. And you'll see here that it says open. What that means is there is no security on this thing whatsoever. Ordinarily, you don't want to touch a network like that, but in this case, this is just a temporary connection to get into the extender and configure it. Once the extender is configured, it goes away. All right, we're connected. Now we should be able to go over to our web browser and configure the extender. Now, if you read the little booklet that came with the extender, it tells us to go to this address. Okay, these little website addresses that come with wireless routers and extenders, a lot of times they just don't work. So what you really want is you want to find the default IP address of the device. Okay, so right away it's saying we can't get there. And then it takes you to this page which basically says, well, yeah, this doesn't work, and if it's not working and it takes you to this page, well, then it's working. And the purpose of this page is to basically give you options of what you can do. Okay, so the information that we're looking for is up here. The reason I'm showing you this is because you have to get used to doing a little bit of research. These things are not always as straightforward as the manufacturers will have you believe. Okay, so we scroll down here, then it tells you, oh, okay, that is the IP address we want. So now that we're connected to the extender, this IP address should allow us to connect to it. And there we go. So now we've got this little thing here where we can click on extender setup, log in, and do the configuration. Before we go any further, I want to explain something very important. Okay, the only reason this is working so well for me is because before I hit the record button, I made sure everything was set up, lined up, and ready to go. The fact of the matter is, in real life, people have fits trying to get these things connected and trying to get other devices connected to their wireless network. The reason for that is the average person is not familiar with the basic networking fundamentals that I explain in my home networking basics video. Now, I'm not going to force you to go run over there and watch the whole thing right now. I'm just going to give you a basic breakdown. The extender's IP address is 192.168.1.250. That right there means you have a 50-50 chance of connecting to this extender, because half the wireless routers out there default to a 192.168.1 network, and the other half default to a 192.168.0 network. If you have one of the wireless routers that defaults to 192.168.0, this isn't going to work because the computer you're on is on the 192.168.0 network. So how do we know what network we're on? Well, we go down here, we type CMD, and then we type IPCONFIG. What this does is it gives us our computer's network settings. So what we're interested in now is the Ethernet adapter. So we're on the 192.168.1 network. Now, if we were on the 192.168.0 network, we're probably going to want to reconfigure the device that we're on, and in my case, it's a laptop, to the same network as the extender. The bottom line is, once you have a handle on basic networking fundamentals, if you run into an issue, you know how to figure it out and fix it. Okay, so let's say that this particular laptop is on the wrong network and it will not connect to the extender. How do we fix that? All right, well, what we can do is we can change the network that the laptop is on by going to our adapter settings. So how do we do that? We go down here to search and type Ethernet. If we're on the Wi-Fi, we type Wi-Fi. Go to Ethernet settings, change adapter options. Most likely you won't have all these crazy connections that I do. But in this case, what we're looking for is this one, the Ethernet connection. So you right click, go to Properties, then you go to TCP4, version 4, click on Properties there, and in here, if you click this, you can change whatever network you're on. We're already good to go as far as that goes. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay, so let's continue on with configuring the extender. Okay, now an important feature to remember with many of these extenders is they give you an option between extender mode and access point mode. Extender mode is basically what we're doing. You have a wireless connection to your wireless router, and then it picks up that signal and throws it off into a remote corner of the home. Access point mode means you can basically set this thing up as if it's a second wireless router. If you have a home that has Ethernet cables running through it and you want wireless in another part of your home, you can basically plug this in to an Ethernet outlet in another room in your home and use it as a second wireless router. Okay, now in our case, we're just going to set this up as an extender. Okay, so here we go. Scanning. So now what you have to do is you have to pick out your wireless networks. Which ones do you want the extender to connect to? Simple as that. Next. The wireless extender wants to connect to our wireless router using our Wi-Fi passphrase. So we're going to give it what it wants. First, the 2.4 network. Then the 5 gigahertz network. Okay, so now the extender is connected to the wireless router, and it's asking what password do you want to use to connect to the extender. Now the simple thing to do is to choose same as existing network password. And we're connected. So then it says click the continue button after you connect your Wi-Fi device. Let's go ahead and connect to this. And we're connected, and it's a secured network. We can now take the wireless extender and move it around anywhere in the house we want to within range of the wireless router and connect to other devices. Okay, so what do we do if we want to make some configuration changes to the extender? Do we have to reset the extender and start all over again? No. We simply have to log on to the web interface and make the configuration changes. The only thing is, now that the extender has connected, it's picked up a DHCP IP address and it's no longer on the default IP address. So if we want to connect to the extender to make configuration changes, we're going to have to go into the wireless router and see what the extender's new IP address is. So to do that, we simply go over to the wireless router and check the connected devices. And on this wireless router, we can simply go here, wireless clients, EX370, and that is our extender's IP address. So let's copy this and go there. All right, and it'll give you a basic breakdown of how it's set up, what it's doing, is it working, is it not working. Click on next, and we simply log into the extender. Once we're in, it gives us the status of the extender and how we're connected. Here's all our connection settings down here. If we want to make changes to those settings, we can go over here. Okay, time for a little test. Now, actually, I don't have some big home, so I don't really have any need for a Wi-Fi extender. Plus, my Archer 89 wireless router provides me with all the coverage I could possibly want. In fact, it's become my new favorite wireless router under $100. If you want to see a review, there's a link in the description below. So now what I'm going to do, instead of going out and buying a big house just for this video, what I did is I bought some extension cord. And I'm going to take that extension cord and I'm going to hook it up to my wireless extender holder. And then I'm going to run out the door into the hall and see how far I can get. Due to its price point, the Wi-Fi extender I used in this video was once the most popular Wi-Fi extender on Amazon. It was also one of the most finicky to set up. Compared to some of the newer Wi-Fi extenders on the market, this one is not a very high performer. In fact, I would consider it kind of on the lower end of the performance scale. You can find Wi-Fi extenders of all shapes, sizes, and price points on my website. There's a link in the description below. As I mentioned before, I don't have a big house with a 4K TV in the den in the basement. So I had to improvise a little to get meaningful results from my tests. The three things I focused on were the distance the extender can stay connected to the wireless router, the extender's signal strength at different distances, and extender speed tests versus the wireless router speed tests. I was actually pretty surprised at the way this low-end Wi-Fi extender performed. So the way I had things set up was my wireless router was tucked away in the back room somewhere, exactly how I say not to do. The distance between the wireless router and the extender was only 20 feet. So I had that sitting out in the hall, and then I walked down the hallway 30 feet, and then I went down the stairs for another 30 feet, for a total of 80 feet away from the Wi-Fi router. When I ran out of extension cord, the extender's router light was still green, meaning the extender was able to maintain a connection with the wireless router at a distance of 80 feet. I'd say that's pretty good for $40. The results I got from the signal strength testing were pretty much what you would expect from any wireless device. The farther away you got, the weaker the signal became. Okay, now for the ever popular Ookla speed tests. I got two sets of tests here, one for the wireless router and one for the extender. With the phone right on top of the wireless router, I was getting 195 down, which is pretty average for my area. When I got to 50 feet, well, then it was down to 33. Now, as you can expect, the extender is going to be a little slower. So right on top of the extender, I got 127. 30 feet away, I got 65. 50 feet away, I got 12. The one thing I want to point out is earlier I said that the extender was 20 feet away from the wireless router. So 30 plus 20, that's actually the same thing as being connected to the wireless router from 50 feet away. So how was the wireless router doing at 50 feet? Well, it was doing a 33.6. The extender, on the other hand, was doing 65.5, which is an obvious improvement. So this little comparison right here, as far as I'm concerned, validates the extender as a useful device. Now, as far as whether it meets your needs and your budget, that's totally up to you. Well, that's about all I have to say about Wi-Fi extenders. My next video will be on extending your Wi-Fi network using Powerline. I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, please do the YouTube doinky doink.